Today, we're gonna answer the question, what can you do with 5 pounds of squash? 5 pounds. I have a better question. Why on earth do you have 5 pounds of squash? Well, see, here's the deal. I got kind of a wild hair up my ass the last time we were at Costco, and I decided I need to eat healthier, so I bought one of the giant things of squash that they have. Of course, I knew I wasn't going to be able to eat it all right away, so I chopped it up and I froze it, and I've done nothing with it since. So I've just had all of this squash sitting and taking up space in my freezer, and I thought, I need to do something with this. I gotta figure something out. So I'm going to look around my kitchen and see what else I could potentially cook with this squash to hopefully make something edible. We'll see. Here's what else I found to work with. I found some Olive Garden signature Italian dressing. I found organic zoo-shaped pasta from that time that we tried to make bear-shaped pasta with Miss Bearverly over there. I found sharp cheddar melts, the cream cheese cheesy melts. Those are always good. I found a couple of tomatoes that are getting kind of squishy, so I'm not sure how good these are gonna actually be. They might not be good at all, so we might have to toss these, but something needs to happen with these today, whether they go in the dish or they don't. And finally, I found some cottage cheese. So here's what I'm thinking with all of this. I'm basically thinking a lasagna, but instead of doing like a traditional tomato paste sauce, it'll be like an Italian dressing sauce. And then we'll have some noodles in there to kind of help, soak up some of the moisture. And then our cheese will be the cottage cheese and the cheddar cheese. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if it's going to be any good or not, but we're going to throw it together and see what happens. First things first, we're going to boil some water for our pasta. We're not going to make a ton of this pasta. The only reason I'm including it at all is so that it can soak up some of the juices that I know the zucchini and everything will put off. So we just need a little bit of that. So we'll get that started. The other thing we need to do is to see if our tomatoes are going to be usable. This one actually doesn't look too bad. Not looking bad. This one does have this little brown spot on it though. We'll cut that out. And it looks like that was just surface deep. So this one's at least usable. This one I am more worried about, but look at how pretty it is. These big ass heirloom tomatoes. I'm hoping it's, somewhat salvageable. We will see. Let's cut off the big part of the top. That seems to be the biggest problem right here is all this goopiness. We don't need all that, even though honestly on the inside it looks totally fine. That's looking amazing. The inside of it looks perfectly beautiful, so not worried about that. I mean, I'm sure some of this is okay, but because the top looks so rough, I'm gonna skip all of that. But the rest of this looks great. Oh my gosh, look at how beautiful though. I love homegrown fresh tomatoes. They are just so pretty. They're my favorite. Next up, I'm going to saute off the veggies. And this is mostly just to kind of drive some moisture off of them because those frozen zucchini are definitely going to be really, really wet. The tomatoes are going to be wet, obviously. And if you put all that wet in there together, it's just going to be a soupy mess. And we're not making soup today. We're making whatever the hell this is going to be. Now, these noodles, they had a good flavor when we cooked with them last time, but their big problem was that they just totally fall apart while you're cooking. They like break up into a million little pieces because the little shapes, they just don't hold together. I think that's supposed to be a monkey face, more monkey faces, mostly monkey faces and zebras apparently. Tastes good, do not hold up as noodle shapes. Says to boil for 6 to 7 minutes. I'm definitely only gonna do like 5. We're not gonna boil for that long. Do a little salt and pepper on these bad boys. The key to good food is to salt and pepper at every step. All right, we want all of this wet moisture off of these. Well, while we're waiting on all of this to get going, now's maybe a time to let you know that for Halloween, we have some fun things we're going to be doing for the entire month of October. We're going to be doing something really cool. I think it's cool. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's really stupid. We're here to find out. Either way, so join us in October and you'll see. I don't even want to give away too much, but it's going to be themed Halloween stuff. So it'll be exciting. Let's dump in some pasta. Not a lot. Over here, zucchinis are starting to defrost. They are definitely mushy because they were frozen. And that's what you risk when you freeze a bunch of zucchini. Honestly, if this doesn't work out, I might just use the rest of that to make like a zucchini soup or something. I don't know. Because freezing these, not the brightest idea I've ever had. Eventually, when these burn off some of the water, I will put the tomatoes in there with them too. I'll just cook them all together. In fact, I might just do that anyway right now. We'll give it till the pasta's done and then we'll dump them in there. Yeah. That sounds like a good idea. And I still have more pasta. What am I going to do with this crap? You know, is this going to turn out good? I don't know. But I will say, at least we're being good stewards of the food we already have. We're not going to freaking the fast food places to make more Arby's beef Wellingtons. No. We're going to use up the food we got in our house like good non-food wasting people because I hate food waste. Food waste makes me so mad. Part of why, and not sponsored, but it's part of why we've been HelloFresh members for like 5 years at this point. I love HelloFresh. They send just what you need. Like I said, this isn't sponsored. I just genuinely really like that service because I hate food waste. And HelloFresh keeps you from having food waste. I think, so here's the deal. Whenever you're unsure about a recipe, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? There are a few things you can do to kind of like beef up your chances of it being good. One is to add fat. And fat can be butter, cheese, fatty meats like bacon. Fat is so good. There's a reason why people love like Southern cooking is because it's got a bunch of freaking grease in it and fat. It's just delicious that way. So I think putting all the cheese in this is gonna help a little bit. The other thing you can do is add seasonings. Salt, pepper, garlic salt especially has such a nice flavor to it. It's a great way to like boost up the flavor of something. And you have to be careful because not everything goes with garlic. This would be a pretty good time to use garlic salt. And I might garlic salt this once it's all done cooking together just to sort of give it a little bit of a kick up. And then we might top it with a little bit of Italian seasoning. But all those things just sort of aid in the potential for this to like not be gross. And look, don't take it from me. At the end of the day, I am just a person who screws around in my kitchen cooking food every now and again. I am not a chef, nor have I ever been a chef. Don't take my word for things. All right, let's go ahead and drain our pasta. I just drained off some of the water on this, just in an attempt to help a little bit. So now that that's off, let's go ahead and put the tomatoes in there. Tomatoes. And with that, let's go ahead and do a little garlic salt. Now, one idea is that we could use an immersion blender and just basically turn this into kind of like a bolognese-esque sauce, if that makes sense. Blend it all together that way. I'm going to leave this as is and we'll see what happens. So what would you guys have done with 5 pounds of zucchini? Like I said, I feel like maybe a soup might have been a good idea, but I really don't know. I can think of a few ideas, but they're not appropriate for YouTube. Well, then you can just keep them to yourself, can't you? I wonder what she's talking about. Nope, don't worry about it. Okay, here, you hold this. Thanks. I will say it at least smells good and it looks pretty. It is definitely mushy though. Mushy squishy. That's okay. Personally, I prefer softer veggies, so I'm not that mad if this gets mushy squishy. I'm so curious on if this is going to be good or gross. I'm hoping at the very least it's edible. I'll take that back. Thank you. All right, let's start by doing a little layer of pasta. And as you can see, it's starting to fall apart because this pasta's just not very good. We're going to be adding more liquid to this with the dressing and then with the cottage cheese. So, we're going to do our best. I'm trying to lay these flat so that they can take up as much surface area as possible. And I'm being a bit of a perfectionist about it. Is that going to make a difference in the end? Probably not. Does it make me feel better when somebody takes extra time and care to make sure something looks beautiful? Yes, I think that's worth the effort. Not that this is going to look beautiful no matter what we do. Anyway, I think that's pretty well covered. Go ahead and do some veggies. This is going to be a lasagna in the loosest sense of the word. There we go. Sort of spread out. Do a little bit of Italian drizzled on that. Do some cottage cheese on that, trying to get some of the liquid off. If you've never had cottage cheese on lasagna, it's so good. Try it sometime. Spread that out a bit. And then we're going to do a good bit of cheese, because this is really going to be our only binder. Hopefully that works. The dog heard the cheese, and now she's like, yo, cheese. I'm into that. First layer down, now let's do the next. Let's do a little Italian seasoning on top. And we're going to stick this in the oven for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, until the edges get bubbly. Good luck, squash bake. You know, if I can wax poetic for a minute, I feel like so many people are scared to experiment with food. They're always worried that they're going to make something that tastes gross and they're going to have to throw it out. And I get that because I hate food waste too. But if you don't experiment a little bit, you never know what does and doesn't work. And you never become better at it if you don't try something new. Especially when you're looking at stuff in your cabinets and you're like, well, I've got X, Y, and Z ingredients and they're going to go bad if I don't use them in the next week. What's the better option? To play around with a dish that might not be very good, but at least you tried, or to just let it sit there and go bad and throw it out anyway? My lean is always to try something different. And maybe that's not a perfect philosophy, and that's okay if you disagree with me. But failure is how you learn, and you have to be okay with it. So if this turns out like garbage, then it's okay, because that's part of my philosophy. And that's what I tell myself to sleep at night. Whatever it takes, baby. And here is our zucchini lasagna bake. You know, it looks edible and it smells edible. So those are all good signs, right? The cheese melted nicely, which it should, because it's literally called creamy melt cheese. I am curious if it's just liquid mush in there. It kind of looks like it. So we'll see. I don't really expect this to hold together when we pull out a slice. So I'm going to let this cool off for a few minutes and then we will try it. All right, it's been about 5 minutes, so let's try and get a slice out of this. Oh yeah, it is very, very, very liquidy. I can already tell that much. That's okay, not a huge deal. If it tastes good, it's not a problem. Ah! It almost held together there for a second. Yeah, it is, it's quite liquidy. That's okay, not a problem. Here we are, our weird squash bake. What you can do with 5 pounds of squash. Let's get a bite of it. Try and get a little bit of everything. Tomato, obviously a squash, some cheese. Scoop it all up. There we go. Let's take a bite. Oh my God. That's actually really good. I know it doesn't look like much. Let's take another one. Yeah, it's actually really good. It really does kind of have like a lasagna-ness to it. I know I didn't put a ton of tomato in there, but that tomato gives it this like great kick of, I mean, you know, and these are great homemade, such good tomatoes. I really feel like the tomato is like making a big difference in this. And then the zucchinis just like soaked up all of the juices from the tomatoes, from the Italian dressing. Oh my God, yeah, it's good. The little cottage cheese curds are like little pockets of ricotta. I know it's not ricotta, but that's kind of what it behaves as in this mix, is like getting like chunks of, you know, ricotta cheese in there. It's just so good. Now the pasta noodles, you know, they didn't hold together. Like I said, those pasta shapes kind of suck, but they did their job. They soaked up some of the juices and they still taste good, and they still have like a good, they're not like soggy. They like still have a good bite to them, a little al dente. Those turned out so good. Like genuinely, I know this is not pretty to look at. I know that's not pretty, but this is delicious. I will absolutely make this again. I don't know that I would feed it to anybody else because it doesn't come out looking very pretty, but it is delicious. And I'm going to eat this for my lunch today. I'm going to stick it in the fridge and I'm going to eat it for lunch for the next several days. So this was absolutely an experiment worth doing. We used up some of the squash in the freezer. I now have a really good lunch to eat for the next couple of days, and I'm super happy with that. So this went really well. And, you know, I know this isn't my usual experimentation. This is a little low key, but like I said, we're prepping something big for Halloween. So I needed to do something a little more low key today so that I could have some time to get these Halloween videos prepped. But thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What would you do with 5 pounds of squash? Seriously, if you've got recipes, I'd love to hear, because I still have more that I'm going to have to do something with. I might make another one of these when this one's done, but let me know down in the comments what you would do with it. And, you know, as always, thanks so much for watching. I super appreciate it. Bye-bye, babies.